Before we wrap up this section of the course, I want to quickly talk about a few other forms of login pages, including single sign ons that are usually kind of just handled by another third party. So a lot of times you will see companies will use something like Okta or OneLogin, and when you send those out there, when you open up a website, it is going to just send you to another domain. That's usually something .onelogin.com or .okta.com. So for example, if you're hacking on HackerOne, you will see that HackerOne will be sent to hackerone.okta.com or hackerone.onelogin.com. So that means you're going to go to the website, it's going to redirect you to another one. So you obviously can't hack on OneLogin or Okta unless you're doing their bug bounty program if they have one. But what you do have the option of is to just evaluate how the redirect is happening. So what we usually do is I'm going to just open up Burp and close this out so I can show you what I mean. We're going to go to proxy, we're going to open it up, and once we hit open, we can see that we're going to this website. And then right after that, it is going to, let's go here, it's going to send us to OneLogin. Typically, instead of becoming a subdomain, you will see that it would become, so if this is our company name, you would see that it will redirect you to something like Okta.com. But because we're making a lab, this is our fake version of the Okta, but you can see that originally we're supposed to open up this website. And when we hit this, you can see that it's redirecting you to OneLogin, right? And you can see there is some stuff you can see in here, including the app.min.js, but you can see that you can hit something here and it's then redirecting you, right? So you kind of have access to this website, and the thing to do here usually is to use the curl command. And what I do here is I take the URL, so let's say this is a subdomain that we're going to on our target machine, and we're going to send a curl request to this domain. And we can see that it's going to come back, give us the data for it, and I'm going to do curl-I. We're going to OneLogin. Again, this is just an arbitrary domain, doesn't matter what it comes back. Just the point is to show you that it's getting sent to a single sign-on, whether it's their own single sign-on or a OneLogin or Okta. But then the next thing to do here is to see that there is data coming back. Typically, this shouldn't have any data. It should just immediately redirect you, not open redirect you. It should immediately redirect you to Okta or OneLogin without showing you any data. So what you can do now is you can actually try something else. What we're going to do here is we're going to convert to a -I. This is still going to give you the redirect, but you can see it's saying 404 this time. But what I want to do here is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to show you again. It says, hey, 302. So if we do something random that doesn't exist with the -I, and now we can see that it's coming at 404. Typically, if this is correctly set up, no matter what path you give here, it should redirect you to the OneLogin. If it has been configured properly, it is going to give you a 302 regardless. So if you see right here now, we're getting a 404. So that means we can actually serve content here. So maybe we can try something like admin, see if that works. And it looks like it's coming back with a 302, but it's this time correctly sending us somewhere else. If I do admin with a slash, same thing. If I do admin2, now it's giving us 404 because that doesn't exist. The key here is a couple of things. One is you can use something like ffuff and say, hey, I want you to brute force for content here using my word list here. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to find different pieces of content, and hopefully it comes back and gives us, some admin, there's an API, and some other content that is accessible, and we can see which ones are redirecting and which ones aren't. So some of these probably are requiring us to have some sort of a session or authorization, but in this case, we have an API, which we can, repeat this process and look for more content within. But the key here, the more important part here, the most important part of this is that we're actually given a bit of what I call a lead. We have a lead here that says, hey, this page is running this JavaScript file and then doing some stuff. And if we go to this JavaScript file and open it up, we will see that there's some content. Oftentimes what you will see here is that it is some complex JavaScript. It's obscure, but you can dig through it and look for things like API, V1, and so on. And sometimes you will see it actually leak some data. So oftentimes you will see either it would leak the path for the dashboard, the API routes, or the application or the micro app that's behind this. So in this example, it is actually leaking something that relies on session. So probably this is how they check to see you have a valid session. And if we go here, it will probably say, hey, you don't have an access. But what's really important here is that in that JavaScript file, it is leaking a path for us. This path alone would have been a little bit harder for us to guess if we didn't know it. So maybe it's not publishing, maybe it's something more complex, but in this case, it's giving us a path that says, hey, by the way, this API relies on this publishing API in order for it to work. So what we can do now here is now we have a lead. We know, okay, all these files were accessible. We can hit API. We know that exists. The other ones are 302. Maybe we can brute force for stuff under admin and dashboard and help, but the API seems more interesting here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab this publishing API and throw that in here. So I'm going to go publishing API, and we're going to fuzz now again. And once it starts fuzzing, we're hoping that it's going to find more content and somehow it's going to throw an error that says, hey, you don't have access to this, or there's some sort of an issue. But the point of this is that you will get leads from this to know how this application actually is created. So now we know there's a user's object here maybe that we can eventually look for other content. So maybe we can put this users here, and hopefully the user's ID is done in a form of an integer. So I can go into payloads, maybe do numbers, maybe from 1 to 100, one step at a time, and we just start our attack, and it starts giving us some information. So it's really, really important for us to kind of see what is it that we have access to. Does this application properly validate where the users are, or where the authentication is happening? Is it properly looking at all the paths and then sending us to Okta, OneLogin, or the SSO? If not, can we access other data? And you can see here we're easily able to just go from one lead, which was publishing API, to seeing that the users gives us 401, and then eventually getting an ID hit right here for ID 12, which gives us a username and email address. So that's just a very easy and simple way of doing this. But I wanted to kind of echo out that a lot of times, even though it's sending you to a login to a third party or a different domain, there may be content that you will be able to access with just doing some content discovery.